Boston, where it all began. 1965, September 17th, right? Agyan Timirandasya Jana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In one particular scripture called the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, it's spoken actually by Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's speaking to Mother Ganga, the personification of the Ganges River. And he says to Ganga, within the next 5,000 years, my mantra upasaka, which refers to a personality, will take the chanting of my holy name to all places around the world. That's spoken by Krishna. Mantra upasaka means one who is the propagator of the chanting of the holy names. A few hundred years later, there is some dialogue between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Narada Muni, Narada Muni is the sage among the demigods. He's called Narada Rishi. He is the best of all the demigods, and he travels everywhere glorifying the Lord and speaking transcendental knowledge whenever he finds the opportunity. So he's hearing now, he comes in contact with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu says, soon there will be a person who will appear in the world. He will be known as my Sanapati Bhakta. Sanapati means general, or the best of all bhaktas. And that person will bring Krishna consciousness to those who run away from India, trying to hide into the Western countries. Hare Krishna. In other words, he will chase them down, and he will give them the opportunity of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu speaks this Sanapati Bhakta, the best of all bhaktas. Sanapati actually means general. And then, a little more than 150 years ago, a little less than 150 years ago, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the pioneer of Krishna consciousness in the Western world, he also made a prediction that soon a great personality will appear in this world and will unite all of the races together, and they will all be chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So all of these references, these predictions, all refer to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is not just an ordinary person who came out of India and got lucky and made a few disciples and somehow got even luckier and spread Krishna consciousness. Actually, he was commissioned by the Lord to do this work in the world. He is what is called a Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha means one who has no connection with the material world, but comes as a representative or as a missionary of the Lord to teach eternal religious principles to the fallen persons, especially in this particular age we live in, which is known as Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel, the age of hypocrisy, the age where religion is reinterpreted in so many wrong ways. So Srila Prabhupada is not an ordinary personality, or even one of many great personalities. He is actually Krishna's special entourage who came to this world. And Prabhupada also talked about himself. He knew who he was. It wasn't like he was in mystery about his mission. Of course, we all know he landed here, Boston Harbor, 5:30 a.m., September 17th, 1965. After crossing the on ship to Jaladuta, all the way from Bombay, the port of Bombay, through the Adriatic Sea and then into the Atlantic Ocean, and came all the way on ship. It took him 39 days to make that. And in that time he had 2 heart attacks, and the second one was so devastating he thought that was it. But somehow Krishna showed him that, don't lose faith, I'm with you. And then Prabhupada had a dream one night when he was on board. This was while he was still undergoing the pain of the second heart attack. He saw in his dream Krishna was rowing the boat that he was on. And in the dream there were many incarnations of Krishna in his different forms. And they gave assurance that by my grace you will be successful. So Prabhupada had full faith in Krishna. This is what it takes to become a devotee. This is what it takes to be successful in devotional service, to have full faith and full dependence on Krishna. Krishna is all-powerful. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he wants to give his mercy to others, but we can't qualify for his mercy unless we actually are eager to receive it. And to become eager to receive it means to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada is his special emissary. He's a representative, you might say he's an ambassador from the spiritual world. Prabhupada told a story to one of his associates, not associates, but one of his disciples, when this person was giving Prabhupada a massage in, can't remember, I think it was in New York. This person was with him. Prabhupada always spoke about Krishna. He was never quiet. He wanted to use, he was so eager to glorify Krishna that practically every moment he was talking about Krishna, he was talking about devotion to Krishna, and he was always making plans how to spread Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was, to say the word, intense. You couldn't be with him unless you were even somewhat eager to accept whatever he's having to offer and ready to carry it out. Prabhupada was intense. Because, one, he had very much love for Krishna, and he knew his mission was to use whatever remaining time he had in this material world to begin this worldwide movement of bringing Krishna consciousness, the eternal Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion of the living entities in the material world, throughout the material world. In other words, it was cutting across all cultural, ecclesiastic, moral, religious, aesthetic lines. Prabhupada understood Jiva Surupai Krishna and Nityadas, that every living entity, no matter what body they're in, not even below the human form, are an eternal soul who has a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada's intensity was to establish his movement in whatever way he could in the remaining years he was left. When he got into America in 1965 and 66, he established his society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That was in New York. He actually authorized a written charter, signed it, and made the declaration, now we are the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. All we had was one storefront in New York. That was our international society. But Prabhupada was a visionary. when Prabhupada was in New York, during that time, he was sitting on a park bench. This was even before he was meeting many of his followers. And one Iranian train conductor, he was middle-aged, not middle-aged, but maybe a little bit younger. He said, he just thought, this man looks very curious. So I want to find out more about him. Prabhupada's dressed in his flowing, sannyas robes. So he sits on the same park bench with Prabhupada. And then he strikes a conversation. He says, well, who are you? Where are you from? Why are you dressed like that? Prabhupada said, I have come from India. And I have come on the order of my teacher, my spiritual master, to bring eternal religious principles to everywhere. And I have 108 temples, but they're separated by time. Think about that one. Prabhupada was sitting on a park bench, he didn't even have a place to live. And now he's saying he has 108 temples, but time is the separating understanding. So, of course, this train conductor was thinking, this is a very nice man, but he's talking kind of crazily. So, of course, soon they parted ways. And it's interesting, I was preaching in one jail in America, and I had received a letter from one inmate who said that he was a member of the Seattle, Washington Temple. And when he was there back in the 1990s, this letter I received at the end of the 1990s, he said there was one elderly gentleman, he came into the temple one night, evening time, and he was talking very wildly and emotionally, and he ran up to Prabhupada and he started to speak. He said he was going to do it, he did it, I didn't believe it, he did it, he did it, he did it. It was the same train conductor. Krishna made the arrangements for this train conductor to get his doubt cleared. So this was interesting. It was that same train conductor, Krishna made the arrangements. This was after Srila Prabhupada had, of course, departed the world. So Prabhupada's mission in this world is to engage everyone in the eternal principle of chanting the glories of the holy name. There's one particular story, it's in the Mahabharata. How many of you heard of Mahabharata? Mahabharata is about the activities of the Lord and his devotees. Mahabharata teaches a lot of religious principles, aesthetic values, morality, and of course, in order to inspire people to read the Mahabharata, Vyasadeva put the Bhagavad Gita within the Mahabharata, which was a step up from that. Haribo, welcome. Now my evening is complete now. And in that particular pastime within the Mahabharata, this takes place after the war, Battle of Kurukshetra, when the Pandavas had become victorious. They had established their rule by performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, which consummates Yudhisthira becoming the emperor of the world. Now Yudhisthira, he's not like the modern day kings who sits in their offices making policies and collecting taxes. He's a person who's concerned about each and every welfare of the citizens. So he started an open door policy that anyone in the kingdom at any time can come and see me. Pretty good, huh? For an emperor. But that's he was concerned about the citizens. Of course, the war was just over, so people were rebuilding their lives. So, and he had his brother, Bhima, he was the secretary. He would sit outside of Yudhisthira's room and meet the people who would come. So Bhima's there, Yudhisthira's in his room, one man comes. He says, I have to see King Yudhisthira. well, Bhima says, I think he's a little bit busy right now, so maybe you can tell me your concern. Okay. Well, I decided to make a garden. And so I gathered so many seeds to plant flowers, trees, shrubbery. I made a beautiful, beautiful garden with trees and walkways and so many varieties of flowers. And I worked really hard. I was really proud of my garden. But then I thought, I have to protect my garden. So I decided to build a wall around the garden. And so I worked hard and I built a very high, very strong wall around the garden. But just right after I completed the wall, something really strange happened. The wall started to encroach onto the garden and destroy the garden. I built the wall to protect the garden, but now the wall is destroying the garden. So tell me, what is the reason? So Bhima says, well, I think you should go in and see Yudhisthira. So he goes in. Second man comes. Oh, Bhima, I saw something really, really strange. In fact, I did it, and I can't figure it out. Maybe you can help me. Okay? Tell me your problem. Well, I had this bucket full of water. It was a huge bucket. And I decided to take all of the water out of the bucket and put it in smaller cups. So I did. I got many cups. And I filled the cups up until the bucket was completely empty. Then I thought, now I'm going to put the water back in the bucket. No sleeping in class, please. Hare Krishna. You can sleep later. And when I poured the water back from the cups into the bucket, I didn't spill anything. The bucket was only half filled. Started with a full bucket, filled up all the cups, put them back in. Now the bucket's only half filled. What's the answer? And Bhima says, I think you should go in and see Yudhisthira. Okay? So he goes in. Third man comes. Oh, Bhima, I saw something I cannot believe. I need an explanation. This is something that never happens. What is that? Well, can I speak to you, sir? I think he's busy right now, but let me give it a try. Okay. So he says, there was this elephant, a really big, big elephant, and he's walking, and he's walking, and he's headed toward this big, big stone wall. And then he gets close to the wall and he just crashes right through the wall. The wall breaks open. He goes through, but he gets all the way through almost, but his tail gets stuck. Big elephant crashes through the wall, but his little tail gets stuck in the wall. Damn, the elephant's got this real tiny tail. So he says, well, what's the answer? Bhima said, I think you should go in and see Yudhisthira. Okay. So now a fourth man comes. Oh, Bhima, what happened? Unexplainable. What is it? Well, I just decided to go someplace I've never been before. Have you ever had that experience? Let me try some new place. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going. Just to see what it's like. So I was walking in the direction that I knew nothing about, and I'm just walking. And as I'm walking, I noticed it started getting darker, and it's getting darker, and it's really getting dark. And then it's practically pitch dark, and I noticed all around me there was these shadows of these big, gigantic mountains all around me. And I was looking, and I was saying, where am I? And then I looked down on the ground, and all there was rocks. Rocks everywhere, mountains everywhere. There was nothing alive. I said, I've got to get out of here. So I decided, what am I going to do? Which way am I going to go? So I just started to run. And while I was running, I happened to look down, and I saw this little green creeper, little plant growing out of the rocks. I said, really strange. So I pulled it, just to see what it was. Pulled it up. As soon as I pulled it up, all the mountains disappeared, all the rocks were gone, the sun was out, and everything was bright, and I felt happy. What's the explanation? I think you better go see Yudhisthira. So after some time, Bhima comes into the room where Yudhisthira is, and Yudhisthira is all alone. Nobody's there. And Bhima said, "Did you see those 4 men?" Yudhisthira said, "What 4 men?" I didn't. "Oh, those 4 men. They represent Kali Yuga. Krishna has just disappeared from the planet, and now Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel, the age of hypocrisy, is coming in full force." Bhima said, "Can you explain their stories?" "Yes. The man with the garden. The citizens of the state will elect representatives to lead them and protect them, but the leaders of the state will destroy the citizens." Hare Krishna. Sounds familiar? Kali Yuga. You make a garden, and you want to protect the garden with a wall, but the wall destroys the garden. People in this age have faith, at least the faith is there somewhat, that if we elect this person, he will help us. He'll give us what we need for our livelihood, but it turns into be the opposite. So the second man with the cups and the bucket, Yudhisthira said, "Oh, this is very sad. Mothers, fathers, teachers will do their best to give the children, their students, as best education, guidance, but the children will not appreciate their parents. You start with a full bucket, you get half back. So, Kali Yuga, children don't really appreciate what their parents have given them, and sometimes they think their parents are just, what they say, obstacles in their own life. This is Kali Yuga. The third one, the elephant and the wall. If you have money, you can get justice. Even if you're innocent and you have no money and you find yourself in some law case, you may be implicated because you have no money. So the rich man represents the elephant who goes crashing through the wall. The poor man is the little tail who gets stuck because he has no money. So you can buy justice in this age. If you have money, it doesn't matter. You can pay anybody and everybody. I could sit here all night giving you classes or examples of this, but it's not the time for that right now. So yes, this is also a feature of this age, that justice can be easily bought by those who have the money to buy it, even if you're a criminal. And the last one, the man with the rocks and the green creeper, Yudhisthira said, "This is wonderful. Those rocks, those mountains represent Kali Yuga, the darkness, the dangers, the horrors of Kali Yuga. But that little green creeper, what is that? Kaler doshani de rajan astiyako mahagun kirtana eva krishna sya mukta sangam padam vijet." That represents the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is as Srila Prabhupada said, the elixir, the means to push back all of the effects of Kali Yuga and to awaken one's natural attraction for Krishna will eventually develop into love for Krishna. So this verse from the Bhagavatam, spoken by Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit, Kaler doshanidhi rajan, O king, in this age of Kali there's an ocean of faults. But asti echo, what is that? What is that echo? Mahagun. What is that gun? Benediction, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And what is the benefit? Kirtana eva Krishnasya mukta sangam param vajet. One can purify themselves of all material desires free themselves from all material and suffering, and enter into the kingdom of God. The power of the holy name is supreme, because in this age, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, has delivered that holy name personally by his own example. He's teaching it, he's practicing it, and he's distributing it to everyone. So if we take shelter of Krishna's holy name, it's not like, well, I chant my 16 rounds, and then I put my beads on the shelf, and I'll say, see you tomorrow. Not like that. So to really understand the mercy and accept the mercy of the holy name, one has to chant always. Not necessarily on beads, but chant always. In other words, one has to remember, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantastatadamrita yatantastatadad mukta sangha param vajata. This is a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, where those who glorify the Lord, they are actually receive the full mercy of the Lord. And in this age, the most recommended way to glorify the Lord is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this chanting is not just part of the process of devotional service, it is the process. It is the process. As this was mentioned by Yamaraj. Yamaraj is one of the Mahajans, Mahajano Yena Gita Sapanta. He teaches the principles of pure devotional service. He's speaking to his followers, and he's explaining that out of all the activities in human society, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the most glorious and highest of all. And the essence of that of devotional service is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So if we can understand that in practice, then you can understand it in realization. Because if we chant more and more and more, we will always be free from the effects of this age of Kali. Even we get disturbances from our own body, we get disturbances from our own mind. Even they go by the power of the chanting. If we have faith, we have to have faith in the holy name. Because without faith, you get something, but you don't get the full mercy. When you have faith in something, it inspires you to really seek out that activity with full enthusiasm. Therefore, we should chant as much as possible. As Srila Prabhupada made this point over and over again, just chant Hare Krishna. One person asked Prabhupada a question, and Prabhupada said, you'll understand everything simply by chanting Hare Krishna. So the holy name reveals Krishna, the holy name is Krishna, the holy name protects one against the onslaughts of this material energy and miseries of the body, miseries of the mind, miseries of other powers, miseries of other living entities, higher powers. Just like during the COVID time, what did we do? We're running after medicine. But there were devotees that didn't take any medicine, all they did was chant. And they were the ones that were somewhat free from all of this. So the holy name is, as Prabhupada said, it's the, what's the word? He used the word, I can't remember that word. Something that is all-inclusive. In other words, the holy name covers all aspects of our existence. Like, not elixir, but something similar to elixir. Well, in Bengal, they said, Enechia Sadi Maya, Nasi Badalagi, Harinamas Maha Mantra, Lao Tumi Magi. So Al-Saudi means medicine. What is the medicine? Chanting a holy, what is the disease? Bhavarog, material life. Material life simply gives you trouble, that's all. Whatever you achieve in material life, you have to work hard to get it, and in due course of time, you lose it. And even while you have it, you may not be able to find happiness and success in it. This is material life. Someone asked, well, why is there so much suffering in this world? Prabhupada said, blame it on Krishna. He made it. And Krishna said, yes, that's right. I did it. It's my fault. But I did it because I love you. I don't want you to stay in this place and think you could be happy here. So miseries are put here simply to inspire us to get out of this place. And the way to get out is through the chanting of the holy name and through association with and serving other devotees. This is the 2-point program for success. Sadhu Sangha and Vaishnav Seva, Sadhu Sangha, of course, go together, and then ultimately chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Very easy, simple process, right? But material energy is there to teach you, hey, you've got other things to do, and you can chant, and actually chanting is for old people, the ones that can't move so good. They can sit in the rocking chair and chant. Right now you have to be successful in your attempts to enjoy this world. And I have all of the programs you need. You can select the one you like. And this is the dictations of the material energy. They come in different sound vibrations, always trying to entice us into this mood of trying to enjoy this material world. But who's enjoying the material world? Only Krishna. Because he is Bhokta. We are not Bhokta. We are, ultimately, we are the mercy that he gives us. Whatever mercy he gives us, that is our success. And the easiest and the most direct way to receive Krishna's mercy is to associate with devotees, find ways to serve the devotees, and ultimately chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And I left out one thing, take prasad. That has to be there also. These are the simple programs that Srila Prabhupada gave. Of course, he gave us so many books to understand how to do these things. And he explained it from different angles of vision. But this is the essence. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, why have you written so many books? Just to help you understand that the most important thing is to chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, he said that. I have to explain it to you in so many different ways, because if I explain it in one way, you will find reasons not to believe that way. So this is Prabhupada. He tirelessly wrote so many books to give us this transcendental knowledge and the knowledge of Krishna in the spiritual world. How Krishna relates to us in the material world. What is Krishna's associates? Why he does what he does. People guess, well, Krishna's like this, God's like this, he does this and that. But people have no understanding unless they hear from the representative of Krishna, the bona fide spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada was not an ordinary spiritual master. As we were saying at the beginning of this lecture, when Srila Prabhupada was talking about himself to one devotee in New York, he was getting a massage from this devotee. I heard this directly from this person. He said, I was massaging Srila Prabhupada. He actually made this public. We were in Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj's room in Mayapur about 20 years ago. There was a gathering of about 100 Prabhupada disciples. We all came to talk about Srila Prabhupada and our experience. There's one devotee was there, and he said, I was with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was normally always very, talkative about Krishna or about spreading devotional service. But this time Prabhupada was really quiet. Really quiet. It was kind of a strange silence that I wasn't accustomed to. So I kept going with my massage, and all of a sudden Prabhupada broke the silence in a very mystical way. Prabhupada started to speak about himself. He said, I was with Krishna in the spiritual world, and Krishna told me, go to the material world and preach. And I said to Krishna, material world? Horrible place. Horrible place. I didn't want to go. And then Krishna said to me, no, you go. You write some books and I'll protect you. So Krishna wanted me to come. So Prabhupada was sent. This is called Shaktivesh Avatar. One who comes as a representative of the Lord to do the work of the Lord in the material world. And this was Srila Prabhupada. So if we read his books, hear from Srila Prabhupada, associate with his devotees, we can understand everything about devotional service. Just like now, people want to learn things. So now we got this thing now, you can learn everything just by pushing a button. Right? What do they call it? AI? What is it called? Artificial insemination? No. Intelligence. And so some machine is more intelligent than you are. So he pushes you out. So people want to learn so many. I was talking to one professor. He's a devotee also. And he gives assignments to his classes. He said, now you give them assignments and they go to AI and get all the answers. I said, can you tell the difference between one who studies and gives their own, contribution in the form of the answers, and those who come from AI? He says, yes, I can, but still, they get the right answers, what can I say? So now, AI is ruining education completely, because people don't want to study anymore. The kids just go to some robot and they get the answers, they put it on the test, and that's it. So this is gradually becoming, but real intelligence comes, it's called the Tato Brahma Jigyasa, that intelligence that teaches you who you are and what is your relationship with the Supreme Lord and how to make that relationship successful. That is real intelligence, and that comes only from the spiritual master. I remember one time we were driving in the car, and there was one, what is it called, Shiri? What's her name? The one you ask questions to? Siri. So we said, Siri, is it?
Siri, S-I-R-I.
Siri. Siri, we said, Hare Krishna. She said, for those spiritual topics, you have to go somewhere else. Pretty good, huh? So I was thinking, very good, yes, we do have to go somewhere else. We have to go to the person who knows, not you. So yeah. So now everything is it's like a brainless society now. Oh, the robots do everything. And wait till you see how this thing is going to expand itself out. It's going to be horrible. People are going to have less and less opportunities to make a livelihood, and the robots are going to take over. That's their plan, to downsize the population and to make everything done through automatic ways. There was one guy, he was working with one robot, and he was trying to program it. This was on the news, and the robot was not programmable. It was one of these brahmachari robots. He wasn't listening. So he was getting frustrated, and then the robots started getting angry and start attacking him. So he had to drop the whole program. So things have really become, what we say, outside of human culture. Human values, aesthetic values, moral values, religious values are being undermined and replaced with, what we say, material success, or some form of material success that is easily attainable. So this is the way things are going, but the devotees know none of this has anything to do with reality. Reality is to somehow or other understand our relationship with the God and make that relationship a reality. And the holy name of the Lord as the foundation for all of our activities. as we were saying earlier, the holy name is not part of the process, it is the process. So one who chants the holy name of the Lord will understand everything in terms of the execution of devotional service. When you read the books, it'll become clear. When you develop relationships with other devotees, if you're chanting properly, your relationships will always be on the level of what we say Vaishnava culture, Vaishnava relationships. Everything comes through chanting of the holy name, provided we have faith. You can't chant without faith. You have to have that faith, and that faith inspires the knowledge to be revealed to you. You have faith in Krishna, and you have faith in the holy name, that everything is there in Krishna's holy name. And of course, we are by nature sentient, so we want to share that and experience that with others who are doing the same. So Sadhu Sangha and Vaishnava Seva, along with Nam Ruchi, this is the essence of the process of Krishna Consciousness. Very simple, very simple. But material life is very complicated, so therefore sometimes we simplify the complicated, or we complicate the simple by somehow or other throwing in material tendencies into our spiritual life. But anyway, the holy name is always available. So chant as much as you can, because why should we chant? I mean, there's different reasons why people chant. Chant to be protected against the material energy. Chant because my spiritual master said I got to do it. Chant because if I don't do it, my wife will start hollering at me. Or my husband will not talk to me. Chant because I'll purify my heart and start to realize my relationship with God. Or even the highest, chant because it makes Krishna happy. This is the highest form or the highest motivation. I want to chant because it pleases Krishna. And when Krishna sees that devotees are chanting, and he sincerely chanting, that means chanting according to the rules and regulations that we have to follow in order to bring about quality in our chanting. What is that? Chant and hear. Chant and hear nicely. Then the mercy of the Lord becomes easily available. So this is the process, and this is why Srila Prabhupada came. He came as a representative of Lord Shri Krishna, and ultimately a representative of Krishna in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Mahavadhanaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gauda Triste Namaha. He's so merciful that whatever disqualification you may have on any level, he doesn't see that. He just sees that this person is trying to execute devotional service. He becomes inclined to give that person his mercy. So if we pray to Lord Chaitanya, we chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi or Bhakti Vrinda, then we can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Golokeda, Premadana, Harinam, Sankirtan, Ratin Janvi Lokena Upai. So this is coming directly, not from any personality, but is coming directly from the spiritual world, into the hearts of the great souls who distribute that to everyone and everyone. That is their mercy. So this is the process. And it sounds very simple. It is. But it takes faith. How do you get that faith? Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha. By associating with and hearing from devotees, and ultimately, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, our faith will grow stronger. And as we execute devotional service, we'll start to see miracles will happen in your life. What is that miracle? Everything, all of your desires become satisfied simply by service. Everyone is looking for something in this life to find happiness. But simply by serving the Lord with enthusiasm, that service satisfies one completely. Because we are connected to Krishna eternally. Jiva Surupaya Krishna Nityadas. We cannot be separated. Prabhupada made that point. He said, even if you forget Krishna, you're still with Krishna. Because you can't be separated. It's not possible to be separated from Krishna. Separation is just a state of consciousness, that's all. When you change your consciousness, then you realize you're never separated from Krishna. Krishna is always with you. And you are always with Krishna. But Maya covers Krishna as a cloud covers the sun. The sun is still brightly in the sky, but the cloud obscures the vision of the sun, and we think there's no sun. Or we can't realize or connect with Krishna. So what is that cloud? The illusion of this material world which teaches us, hey, you can be happy here. Just keep trying. It'll come. But that is the propaganda of the illusionary energy. So when Krishna is saying, just chant. Prabhupada is saying, just chant. Or Chaitanya says, chant, chant, chant. So, I sound like a broken record, don't I? But I've seen in my own life, just by emphasizing the chanting of the holy name, how everything becomes wonderful. Everything becomes wonderful simply by the chanting of the holy name. Even the most difficult things become easy, and the most easy things become routine when you chant the holy names of the Lord. Krishna makes all arrangements for his devotees. He loves his devotees, and therefore he gives his mercy, but he gives his mercy when we chant. Because that's why he came, to teach us the process of bhakti through the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Any questions or comments? Yes.
Is it appropriate to chant Hare Krishna in a car and drive at the same time?
You can do that, but pay attention to the road. But that chanting cannot be counted as your chanting bow. There's an old saying in Bengal, Hate koro kaje, mukhi bolo hori. Hate koro kaje means work with your hands, but chant the holy name. So we chant on our beads. We have a numerical vow. That has to be done with full concentration and no distractions, nothing else, just you and the holy name. But then throughout the day we can chant driving, you can chant working, you can argue with your wife and husband and chant in between. The arguments get better. You can chant anytime, any place, Nam Nam Makardi Bahuda Nija Sarvashaya. There's no rules, no regulations, no restrictions, no requirements, just chant. So that's recommended, yeah. So driving, you can do that as long as you, in that case, pay attention to the driving. But don't use your beads, because sometimes people get their beads tangled in the steering wheel. I've seen that before. And therefore you can just chant like that. Yes?
So my question is around faith. Basically, what's the, so like in day-to-day life, we are faced with all the three forms of material miseries and all that. And the chanting definitely helps. Srila Prabhupada's books definitely help. And I just wanted to know your opinion. What's the best way to keep developing that faith? How to keep, because I mean, even Srila Prabhupada, I mean, as you said, he suffered 2 heart attacks while he was coming here, and he had full faith in the Lord. He had full faith in the name of, in the chanting of the holy name. So, like, how do you keep building that faith, in your opinion?
Faith comes by the association of devotees. Faith comes by developing knowledge of your relationship with Krishna. Faith can come by your own experiences in devotional service. As you encounter difficulties and you have faith that Krishna will save you or help you, your faith becomes stronger. But the essence of faith ultimately comes in the association of devotees. Because devotees help inspire us in our practice of devotional service. But faith is not a small thing. And faith carries you from one stage of bhakti to another. Rupa Goswami explains there are 9 stages of bhakti. Adaustrata, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhava, and Prema. So as we're progressing, we're going from one stage to another. Ultimately, if we stay with the process, we will reach the perfection that is Prema Pumartha Mahan, that is love for Krishna. So, but each of those stages require faith. And faith becomes stronger as you make advancement in devotional service. What destroys faith is bad association, or wrong association. Because that type of association teaches you that you can be happy through other means, in other words, through material life. So, wrong association, if you offend devotees, that can also weaken your faith also. So there's certain restrictions that we should be aware of and avoid, but if you follow the process very carefully, it becomes easy. That is, chant, serve the devotees. When you're in association of devotees, think how you can serve the devotees. And then also take prasadam, and whenever you have time, read Prabhupada's books. It's a very susukam kartamavyayam, Krishna says. This process is joyful. There's nothing difficult about it. Difficulties come when we mix in material desires, material tendencies, and then it becomes difficult. So, yeah, but be careful not to destroy whatever faith you have by wrong association. That's the fastest way you can lose faith. Yes?
Practitioner Raj, thank you for the wonderful class. I just have sort of 2 questions. So the first one is just in relation to Krishna and so just the 4 traits representing Kali Yuga. So just particularly on the 2, when we spoke about leadership and elections, and then the children and parents and I guess that relationship. So, I mean, no one's going to reach Yushi Maharaj's sort of piousness, but at what point do the constituents take responsibility for the leaders they elect? And then with regards to children and parents, it's all well and good to sort of say, honor your mother and father, but at what point, again, does that become weaponized, where parents take responsibility for how they raise their children themselves?
Well, the parents should also be qualified to be parents. And if the parents are qualified, which is assumed in that particular narration I did, then, but the children are so much influenced by what's going on in the world today that they doubt their parents, or they find reasons to become independent from their parents. So it's the duty of the parents to educate and guide their children in a loving way, in a caring way, until they grow up and take responsibility of themselves. But the problem in today's society is that children are relegated to other associations in schools and in other activities, which really creates within them a wrong mentality. They pick up a lot of bad habits from the society. I was just with one of my disciples. She has 2 children. This was a couple of years ago. The boy was 14. He was going to some high school, I think. So I said, what's it like in school? He said, oh, it's horrible. So the students attack the teachers sometimes. And then he says, many of the students, they go into the bathrooms, they unscrew the sinks and the toilets, and they take them home. I said, what? He said, yeah, this, because then they resell them and make some money that way. So today's society don't train children. They just train them on growing up to enjoy. You see, when parents are raising children, they can't raise children properly, so what they do is they give them sense gratification to pacify them, like putting them in front of televisions and various medias. And kids now, they know more about the electronics than even the grown-ups do. So this is not really developing their, what we say, natural intelligence. Because children at the age of 3 and 4 years old have very good intelligence. It's in a very seedling form. But as they grow up and get exposed to the outside world, that gets destroyed. It says that by the time the children are around in their teenagers, 97% of their intelligence is lost. So unfortunately, it's not so much the parents, it's the influence of the outside world. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada established these gurukuls to bring our children to get education, both secular and spiritual, simultaneously. One thing good about America is you can homeschool your kids. I preach in Europe, and Europe still has the old communist effect in many places where homeschooling is against the law. It's not allowed. But America, they encourage you to do that. For whatever reason, maybe they don't want to take all the responsibilities. But kids who are homeschooled, I mean, it takes the parents, it takes time and energy. But if you're going to bring kids in the world and you want to raise them right, whatever investment you have to make in order to do that is the success of the child's life. So children really resonate best with their parents, but when they go out and get influenced by others, then they become spoiled many times.
Just one follow-up, Mark. Thank you. So if one is never separated from Krishna, so the expansiveness of my desires, how would I distinguish between Maya being a trick on me or just divine alignment? So if I want to build more temples in Africa, how do I know it's my ego versus an actual service?
Well, when it comes to making big choices in your life, therefore you should get some advice from people who you can trust, who have some understanding. So we usually go to the spiritual teachers or someone who is fixed in devotional service and get some advice, unless you can work it out yourself. Usually, when we work it out of ourselves, we don't consider all of the dynamics that could come up. Just like when you do something yourself and something goes wrong, you think, well, maybe I shouldn't have did it. But when you get advice from others, and especially seniors, and something goes wrong, you think, well, that's just part of the process. I just have to stick with it. That's all. So we can become very doubtful when we simply rely on our own, what we say, intelligence to do things. But if you develop spiritual intelligence, then you can refer to that knowledge that will guide you in all, even in practical ways. And that's also in Shastra also. Shastra teaches not only spiritual knowledge, but how to use spiritual knowledge in a practical way. In other words, how to lead your life in a way that you are accomplishing your needs on a material level, but at the same time you're staying connected with the spiritual energy. And that Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. He explains that you can do that by following the process. Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Raj.
Thank you. Nice questions. Yes, and we have Parma.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for emphasizing on the importance of
Chanting.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you mentioned one very important point that when we chant, then we find our difficulties become small. And you have seen time and again your own
Difficulties,
life?
difficulties become bigger.
Would you like to share something from your own experience, how that has appeared time and again
How the chanting has helped?
with that particular point, like how the major problems got really shrunk or...
Well, Krishna is in the heart, and by chanting, you can start to connect with Krishna through the heart, and he guides you. Even if he doesn't guide you directly, he guides you through the external energy or through other devotees. Krishna is always there. He's super soul. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita it says, when the mind is fully controlled, the super soul is already reached. Happiness and distress, honor and dishonor, heat and cold, the dualities of material energy appear to be the same. Why? Because we're above the material energy. So that comes with full mind control. And then you can connect with Krishna. But to get to that level, you have to hear regularly from the great souls. Read Srila Prabhupada's books and hear more and more about the process of devotional service and practice it also. Hearing is the beginning, understanding is the second level, applying is the third level, realization of the application is the fourth level, and the fifth level is skills and qualities that come by the application. So it's a whole process of knowledge, goes through different stages. So when you actually develop the skills and qualities, then that means the knowledge has become mature. Then it's not simply some knowledge, it's part of you. Your character becomes part of that same knowledge. In other words, the knowledge is not separate from you, it becomes you. You develop that becomes your character. In other words, you develop a spiritual character. What it means is that you're awakening the soul's chit potency. The soul has all knowledge. So, we simply have to depend on Krishna. That's all. We depend on our own abilities and sometimes think that's enough, but it's not. One who is fixed in devotional service depends on the Lord in all cases. What does it mean, depend on? By remembering the Lord. That becomes dependent on the Lord. I can't do this, but by your mercy it becomes done. If we think we are qualified, that's a disqualification. What is that disqualification? Then you don't receive the mercy because you think, I can do it. You might have did it in the past, but that doesn't mean you're going to be successful again. Situations change. So applying our intelligence on how to do things, and along with reaching out to Krishna for his mercy. Prabhupada said you have to act like it depends on you, and you have to know it doesn't. Try that one. Give your best, but depend on the Lord for his mercy. Because Krishna wants that. He doesn't want us to think that we can become successful by being separate from him. So he'll foil our attempts to become successful just so we can become more dependent on him. And even if you get some success, it doesn't satisfy you. Yeah. Krishna is the closest thing to us because he's right in your heart. He's there. Prabhupada had one of his main painters, Jadharani, along with Muralidhar, both of them together drew a picture of the Super Soul. Prabhupada said, he's 8 inches tall and he sits in your heart. So he even gave him a measurement of the Super Soul. But he sits on the heart, not in the heart. The heart is the place where emotions develop. Why? Because the soul is there. If you want to know where you are in where your heart is. That's where you are. You're located on your heart. That's why we say, I give my heart to you. If you take your heart and give it to somebody, say, what is Mike going to do with that? It's just a bloody mess. But the heart is just a machine that pumps blood. But when we speak of heart, we speak of the soul, which sits right on the heart, and therefore it seems like that there's no difference between the heart and the soul, because the soul is so localized right on top of the heart. That's where you are. In the body. We're there. That's why they say love comes from the heart, but love comes from the soul, actually. That's Shastra. Any other questions, comments? Is that okay? You didn't look so satisfied with the answer.
My direction of question was to actually find out something more personal from your life. That's why.
About?
What exactly
yeah.
you have experienced.
I tried. Personal, I'll give you something. I'll give you something personal, and this is just maybe this is some. I made a vow that I'm going to chant all my rounds before I do anything. I started that about 6 years ago, and I said this is going to be my program now. I can get up and just chant 16 rounds, then I'll begin my day. So I did that for 3-4 years successfully, and I found that Krishna consciousness became not only wonderful, but much easier. And Prabhupada also gave that, and he said, chant early. Chant early. It sets the foundation for the rest of the day, like that. So in my personal life, now ever since I've been traveling in America, the last couple of months, it's been challenged by late night programs. So that's now, I'm trying to readjust again to get back to that standard. And when I do, I feel so satisfied when I can finish my rounds early. It's not like we try to hurry up and get it done. We still give it quality time, but at the same time, it sets the foundation for the whole day. And when you have to chant throughout the day, when it comes to your required rounds, then you find you're not able to really work and get it and do the services you would want to do throughout the day. So chanting early is my experience with a real change in my own Krishna consciousness. Right now I have lost that ever since I got to Boston. I'm not just joking. Last night, what time did we took rest? I took rest at 1 o'clock last night, which is really horrible. And then, of course, I was trying to chant my rounds, and then some furniture movers came into the house where we were, and the lady was alone, so I had to be with her, and so I had to put my rounds aside. So I finished my rounds early afternoon today. Hare Krishna. So these days really are not very inspiring. It makes things really difficult. So to use myself as an example, I want to get back to chanting early. And I guarantee, there's many sannyasis who actually encourage their disciples, chant early. You'll see the difference in your whole Krishna consciousness. Chant early. I mean, if you live in the temple, you have to do the morning programs, that's required. But get up early. Prabhupada said every round you chant before Mangalarti is worth 4 rounds after Mangalarti. The potency of the early rounds is even greater than those that come later in the day. So chant early. So don't go to bed late. Unless you're out there preaching, that's one thing. If you're staying in the temple, take rest early, get up early, get up at 2:30, or maybe 3 o'clock the latest, and you can get most of your rounds before. And then then when you do the japa period, you finish your rounds, breakfast is there, you have your 16 rounds, and you're ready to dive into your service. That's a practical thing. So. But Srila Prabhupada encouraged that. And he also said, if you haven't chanted your 16 rounds, know that any time you could be victimized by Maya. So what did he mean by that? By fulfilling the vow of the spiritual master, you're protected from Maya. By finishing your, what we call, required vow. Now those of you who are not initiated, we recommend you set a numerical vow, how many rounds you're going to chant every day, and stick to that. You can do more, but never go below your required, or your the vow that you have made. But for those who are initiated, there is no question 16 rounds has to be there. And that makes the spiritual master happy, and then you get the mercy. Because he sees, oh, you're following my instructions, and he becomes happy, yes. Sankirtan.
What if, like, someone is not able to chant? Can you, like, if there's a family member who's unable to chant?
For sickness or something?
Yes. Can you chant for them, and then they'll be protected in that way?
I also say you can chant in your mind if it takes too much energy and they don't have the energy to chant because of some illness. Then chant in the mind. But you can also chant for them if you want to do that. But how much can you actually transfer that mercy to them? That's up to Krishna. That's up to Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I had a question to ask you. Maharaj, you were speaking about the importance of chanting always, to increase, to chant as much as possible, remember Krishna. So Maharaj, my question is, and also when you chant as much as possible, that is essence. So the question is, why is it that you also hear the other part, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Leela, he says, Asat Sang Tyag Ei Vaishnavachar. He also is not happy with Mukunda, who was associating with devotees, chanting. But Mahaprabhu was not happy, he was also associated with Mayavadis. Also the 10th offense in chanting, it says, still maintaining, harboring attachments. Maintaining attachments is not good, it's an offense to chanting. So if chanting is so powerful, why do we have this other side, Maharaj, that the question is, if one is sincere in chanting but somehow is getting deviated in these ways?
Well, there is a lifestyle that is conducive to the quality of our chanting, just like we established deity worship. So deity worship is not the Yuga Dharma in this age, but it's very powerful because it helps to purify our consciousness. We can see Krishna, we can serve Krishna directly through worshipping of the deity. And that helps to bring about good qualities, punctuality, responsibility in service, simplicity, cleanliness, many of the qualities that are of the mode of goodness. So deity worship enhances our ability to chant. Quality is enhanced. That's why Prabhupada gave us, as he said, two tracks on the transcendental train, Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatriki Vidhi, both. But Pancharatriki Vidhi is not the means for self-realization. Give you an example. I was traveling in Germany. And I went to it was Goloka Dham in Germany many years ago. And the temple president called me in, and he said, I have a concern. I have one pujari, really good pujari, comes on time, she's always punctual, she loves her service, she does wonderful service, but she won't chant. So what should I do? Well, and she says, in the scriptures it says any one of the 9 angas one can perfect and therefore it's perfect. But she didn't read the whole verse where it says that, but Prabhupada said each of the other 8 must be accompanied by the chanting of the Hare Krishna. That's included in that statement. So I said, well, don't pressure her. Let her continue her service, but remind her as much as you can the importance of chanting. And I said that if she doesn't chant after a while, she won't maintain her service. And so be patient with her, let her continue to do her service, but at the same time, try to find ways to encourage her to chant. And so I left. I came back 3 or 4 months later. I said, how is she doing? He said, she's gone. She left. She left on her own. I followed what you said. I didn't put any pressure on her. But one day she stopped doing her service. Because Krishna kicked her out. Krishna says, you're not following the instructions of my pure devotee. How can you serve me? Not possible. So ultimately, that's an example that there are other things that enhance the quality of our devotional service, especially our chanting. Vaishnav Seva, serving Vaishnavas, really helps us in our chanting. When we have nice relationships with the Vaishnavas, loving relationships with Vaishnavas, trusting relationships with Vaishnavas, it also supports our chanting. When we're preaching, that helps us in our chanting. There's many of the services we do which enhances our chanting. But chanting is the essence. But Prabhupada did say that if you're simply chanting and you're not following the process, he says you're cooking with smoke. So then he went on to say, if you cook with smoke, it'll take you 300 years to cook your breakfast. Well, you need fire. So in the same way, if you say, well, I'll just chant and I won't do anything else, that's for those who are fully purified. Those who have gone through the process and have reached the level of pure consciousness, they can do that. But if we just adopt that on any level, we won't be able to maintain our Krishna consciousness. We have to follow the process. And process is nice. Chant, dance, and take prasad. That's the essence of the process. Anything else? How are we doing on time? We have enough time?
One thing which I observed that when we have very nice association of devotees, so many devotees chanting together, attention also becomes more nice also, because it's very inspiring, and especially very senior devotees are also there present. So it becomes like, I've personally experienced that it happens very nice, more nicely we can do. But at times when we have to chant not with much devotees, so I see sometimes the quality may be also not so much. We may tend to be more mechanical also, and somehow I see that effect is there. Though we try, but with many devotees it becomes much easier and much focused, and we can hear more also. So how to maintain that and how to be attentive, Maharaj, in all situations? I mean, we should be in association, but sometimes it's not, there are not many devotees sometimes.
Yeah, it's just circumstances may change. But you have to be alone in the forest and chant also. For brahmacharis, sannyasis. And Krishna is always with you. Therefore, if your chanting is dependent on situation, then you really haven't developed. So you have to be able to chant in any circumstance. So you might say the mind becomes a little stronger when there is lack of association. Then the mind brings in a lot of thoughts. And then when you're with devotees, then the sound vibration in the room seems to overcome the what we say, the restless mind, and you can focus easier. But there are devotees who prefer to chant by themselves, and they find it that the quality of their chanting is better. So it's an individual thing. Prabhupada mentioned that. Tamal Krishna also said that. He likes to chant along. Prabhupada said, yeah, that's fine. You can do that as long as you're hearing nicely. That's important. So in your case, try to always find that, association. If it's not, doesn't mean you give up chanting, though. You still have to chant. And when you find it more difficult, slow down. Slow down your chanting, and then you can hear easier when you slow down. And it becomes easier to hear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Krishna, very good. Okay, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, so please come forward. Now we'll have a kirtan by His Grace.